the NFC West Roundtable, a weekly live show featuring top-tier insight and analysis on all things NFC West from the best creators in the division, including Los Angeles Rams creator Jake, San Francisco 49ers creator Jesse, Seattle Seahawks creator Brandon, and Arizona Cardinals creator Mike. Catch the NFC West Roundtable every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern on the NFC West Roundtable YouTube channel. What is up, NFC West football fans, and welcome into another edition of the NFC West Roundtable. We have made our way to the middle of June. Football season is going to be here before you know it. I keep seeing the promos of all the teams. They're posting their photos and their updated graphics for what we'll see when the season starts in a few months. But for tonight, we got to talk about what's going down right now. And it's not much, but whenever there's a dead period, there always seems to be a story or two that rises to the surface. And on tonight's episode, we'll start things off talking about a potential new quarterback that could not only be coming to the NFL, but potentially could be coming to this division. We'll also talk about the World Cup being very much represented by this division, 3 stadiums hosting games. Something about those stadiums that's a bit different. We'll talk about whether or not we could see that coming to the NFL at some point, or whether it should come to the NFL at some point. All that and more right here on the NFC West Roundtable. Without further ado, let's bring in the fellas. Jesse, Mike, Brando, Jake. The first time in a while where it feels like it's really the offseason right now, fellas, does it not?
Oh, yeah.
Slow indeed right now. It's heating up outside, and the NFL and storylines aren't heating up. They soon will be. But like I said, whenever it seems to be fully dead, there is always something that can pump a little oxygen into our fandom, of course, with the NFL. And right now, that is the Brendan Sorsby saga. So if you haven't heard, Brendan Sorsby going to transfer to Texas Tech for another year of eligibility to play college football. But the NCAA, Big 12, they're not having that. That's because he was betting on games. He was betting on his own games. That is, of course, a violation. You're not allowed to gamble on football games when you play collegiate sports. But he transfers to Texas Tech, and a court within the vicinity of where Texas Tech plays says, I'm looking at this case, and we're going to overrule it. We're going to find a way to get you eligibility. That's exactly what happened. Brendan Sorsby given eligibility to play at Texas Tech this upcoming year. Well, there's a ton of backlash to that, of course. You're looking at that saying this doesn't really make any sense. He violated the rules. It's pretty evident he did so. He did it frequently. How are we going to be able to allow him to go and play based on a ruling from a court that's kind of within the jurisdiction of where he's going to be playing? Brendan Sorsby looks at all this, the backlash from the Big 12, right? They're looking in to see if whether or not they can sue Texas Tech. There's some other schools saying they won't play Texas Tech. He says, I'm not even going to deal with this. I'm going to go to the supplemental draft. Now, the supplemental draft, something you don't hear about frequently. It's because it doesn't seem to be relevant all that often. It wasn't, this will be the first time since 2011, Terrell Pryor, that a quarterback will be taken in the supplemental draft. But Brendan Sorsby comes into a situation, fellas, where he's coming off of a draft where only 2 quarterbacks were taken in the first round. And as we know, there's plenty of teams in the NFL, including potentially Mike's Arizona Cardinals, who are in need of a quarterback. So we'll start there tonight. And Mike, I want to start with you because when you Google Brendan Sorsby right now, first of all, it's followed by what is the supplemental draft? How does the supplemental draft work? Real quick, because I'm sure many of you might be wondering what that might be. The supplemental draft is essentially an alternate draft, and it's for players like Brendan Sorsby, players that weren't eligible for the draft this past year, missed it for whatever reason, whether that be disciplinary or academic issues. How it works is that teams who may be interested in Brendan Sorsby, for example, they will put in a blind bid, and whoever has the highest bid ends up walking away with the player. But whatever bid you make, you have to pay for in next year's draft. So say, for instance, a team puts up a first-round pick. No one else matches that. Well, that first-round pick, that goes to Brendan Sorsby. It cannot be used in the 2027 draft. So with that out of the way, Mike, I'll go to you here first, because when you do Google Brendan Sorsby, there's many lists out there that say, where would he best be fit? And the Arizona Cardinals seem to be on many of those lists. What do you make of this story? And as odd as it is, what do you make of the potential of a quarterback who wasn't in the draft, potentially being on the roster of the Arizona Cardinals sooner than you may have thought.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes all the sense in the world for obviously, any quarterback to be kind of linked to the Cardinals, whether it's just it makes sense, all the sense in the world. It's just we're in a quarterback flux right now, right? I mean, Jacoby Brissett still holding in now, and then you have Gardner Minshew on a 1-year deal, and then you brought in Carson Beck with a 3rd round. So like it makes all the sense in the world that everybody is saying, oh, maybe the Arizona Cardinals can very well, put in a blind bid or try to, outbid any of the other teams that can very well be, the Browns, or at least before today, I thought the Browns were going to be, but we heard some rumors that they might not be in play. But, obviously the Jets can also very well do it. But yeah, it makes all the sense in the world that the Cardinals are going to be talked about when, Brandon Sorsby's name is mentioned. But here's the thing. One thing I do know is that I know that there is at least a little bit of an intrigue with the Arizona Cardinals and Brandon Sorsby. Now, I'm not going to come out here and say that they're going to outbid those teams out there like the Jets or hell, maybe even the Steelers of the world. But I do believe what's going to be really, really telling for Cardinals fans that what we got to pay attention to is going to be the pro day. Like if the Cardinals scouts or if Monty Ossenfort is there, then obviously the intrigue is more than what I anticipated it as. But I do believe that the Arizona Cardinals are at least going to do their homework on it because, of course, we're talking about a guy that can very well be a top 10 pick in his last draft if he ended up coming out. Now, I know there was projected people coming out there saying that even next year he could have potentially been a top 10 pick or maybe a top 5 quarterback, right? Or a first round quarterback, right? So, yeah, I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. Do I think the Arizona Cardinals are serious contenders right now sitting on June the 16th? I don't think so, but of course, like I'm gonna kind of wait to see how this whole story unfolds here for the Arizona Cardinals. But I mean, am I intrigued? I'm intrigued. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, I'm not gonna come out here and say, oh, I gave up a 2nd round pick for me. I'm even kind of a little hesitant about a 3rd round pick for the Cardinals. I mean, we don't have as much draft compensation as the Browns or the Jets do, right? But again, it makes all the sense in the world that everybody has their eyes on the Arizona Cardinals as a potential suitor for the supplemental draft. And one thing I will say right now is that the last player for, I guess, that's relevant, or I'm not sure. I mean, I got to do a little bit more research, but for us, right, the Arizona Cardinals benefited from the supplemental draft when we ended up bringing in Jalen Thompson, and he's been a great safety for the Arizona Cardinals and a really good, duo back there. So I think a lot of people's eyes are on the supplemental draft this year because the quarterback, because of the name of Brandon Sorsby. And of course, let's be real. I mean, this whole story has been such a ping pong back and forth roller coaster. He's going to go back to college. He's not going to go back to college. And now that we know he's going to the supplemental draft, obviously everybody's eyes are on the end of July. But it's very, very murky because we don't know what the Arizona Cardinals are going to do with Jacoby right now. Can they release him? Can they just let him sit and just say you're playing on your contract, whatever? Yeah, those are options out there. But I think the Cardinals are going to very well be benefiting from having their training camp, or at least bringing in somebody like that, because I don't know the exact day of the supplemental draft, and hopefully you guys can correct me here, but the Arizona Cardinals training camp starts on July 22nd. And I think that's going to be very beneficial for Carson Beck, or maybe even a Gardner Minshew, or Jacoby Brissett if he does get his pay bump. So I don't know. I just don't see a world where the Cardinals do bring him in. Like I said, we're talking on June the 16th right now, but let's see how this all shakes out here. Like I said, there's intrigue, but to me, if I was Monty Ossenfort, I'm starting with the 4th. I'm starting the 4th round pick. I'm good with Carson Beck right now. I want to see what he can do. I want to see what he can develop into. And if it doesn't work, hell, our eyes are on 2027's NFL draft. And I'm a little concerned about the gambling thing too as well. So that's my take on the situation.
There's definitely intrigue. I feel like if you were to look at the Google Analytics, supplemental draft probably has the most searches it's had in a very long time. The date for that, Mike, you asked, it's not set, but it will be mid to late July. The exact date, not set. But Brandon Sorsby will be holding a pro day. So there'll be eyes on him by anybody, I would imagine, who's interested. And Mike, as you mentioned, if there's eyes from the Arizona Cardinals there, maybe that adds to the intrigue even further that they could be in on this. What's the is a 4th, you said, the max you'd feel good with here? Where are you at on that?
This is talking from my perspective, right?
Okay.
I say 4th. Like I feel like a 4th would be like, okay, cool. That would give me the warm fuzzies. But I mean, if they go for a 3rd, it would be like, that sucks. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'll get over it, right? Like, because we are talking about a potential 1st round quarterback that, like, it's a lot of upside. Like, even a 3rd round doesn't seem so bad because, like, if it happens, of course, I'll get on board. Let's be real. Like, I'm a fan. But like right now, sitting on June 16th, I'm gonna say it starts with a 4th for me right? But I think the market actually starts at a third. So if the Cardinals do want him, they're going to probably have to be very, very aggressive. So I'm curious. Like I said, right now we're sitting on June 16th. I want to preface the fact that we're pretty far into the process right now. I'm starting with the fourth myself.
It is interesting because you don't see quarterbacks simply, especially ones of his caliber where you expect him to be drafted somewhat high next year if that were to be when he'd go. Fourth, it is interesting, Mike, if that would get it done or if there are going to be teams that are going to say, hey, this opportunity doesn't come around very often and we're going to give up what maybe people wouldn't anticipate. Brando, what do you make of this whole situation? And looking at it from a quarterback needy team perspective, what would you do in this situation in regard to Brendan Sorsby?
Well, I'm not necessarily a guy that loves the thought of process of just getting obsessed with quarterbacks, or one of those people that say you just keep taking swings endlessly, and if you miss, you just take another one. I think you build up the environment first and then get that guy. With that said, that's not really as much the Cardinals' track record. This is the team that went back-to-back years in recent memory with first-round picks devoted to the quarterback position. So it does kind of fit to the type there. And when you look at Sorsby, I have him as right now a second-round grade when I did some of my evaluation, but college football is funny right now, and that it's really hard to determine who that guy is who's going to take that next step in the final year of the program. And there's just as many guys taking the step back as there are guys taking a step forward. It always used to seem like there was more moderate improvement from these college quarterbacks as they went through their college career, but now you see these dips and falls. So it's hard to predict where he would have landed at. But for the potentiality to land what could be a guy that if he had elevated, he's got, I think, every bit as much of mobility of Manning, if not just a titch more, about the same kind of arm strength. I think Manning's a better prospect, but as far as just physical ability goes, he's there to where a place like Manning is, who's going to be vaulted into probably that top 10 state of things. So from a Cardinal perspective, I look at it and I go, look, it's probably going to cost a second round pick. I think Mike's dreaming on the fourth round thing. It's probably going to end up being a second round pick because of all of those teams out there that do need a quarterback and that are willing to take that swing. And if they're willing to take a mid second round swing, Cardinals have to give up a early second round swing by how they're set up. And that's the hard part with this, is because the Cardinals have kind of subtly, softly tanked for this upcoming year a little bit, which means that second round pick is really going to hurt. But with that said, I think if you're in that mode of, hey, let's just keep taking swings, why wouldn't you do it for the potential upside of what this guy could be?
I tend to agree with you there, Brando. And what's crazy about this is if it burns out bright, then you're going to get ripped, or from the organization perspective. If you give up a second for a guy in the supplemental draft coming off a situation such as the one he's in right now, you're going to get destroyed. However, if you, in the middle of the summer, get a quarterback who winds up being a starting caliber quarterback, you're going to look like a genius if you want to be able to pick him up in the supplemental draft. That's the risk you take with this upcoming opportunity. Jake, what do you make of this situation? How do you view it? Of course, your Rams were one of the two teams who did take a quarterback in the first round here. Say the Rams hadn't, or say you were on the side of a team that needed a quarterback. Would this be something that would interest you?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think the gambling thing is a real issue here, but I think the talent is really worth just giving this a shot. I tend to lean on to what Brandon is saying. I don't think Sorsby is going to be a third or a fourth. I think he's going to be a second. And the way this works is you have 10 teams in tier 1. I don't think a team outside of tier 1 has a shot in hell of getting him. So the tier 1 teams, Arizona Cardinals, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns, the Raiders, the Giants, the Jets, the Saints, the Titans, the Commanders, and Chiefs. I don't think most of those teams will even bother bidding, but I do think the Cardinals are going to be interested, and they may even have to go up to a second round pick just to even, lock this in. But you have to understand something here. While it's bidding, there's also a lottery in place as well. So when those top 10 teams, Arizona could offer a second, and the Browns could offer a second, and the Jets could offer a second, which is kind of how I feel like this is going to go. And really, it's going to be up to that kind of lottery system. That's how it works. And I don't know who is actually going to get him. I will tell you, the Jets have 3 first-round picks because of the Sauce Gardner deal and the Quinnen Williams deal. So I don't think they're going to have a care in the world about giving up a second-round pick. And then looking at the Browns, they have multiple picks. I think the question is, do the Browns really want to go down this road when we know full well, they've been adding all of this draft capital because they have an eye on 2027's quarterback class. They would have to be absolutely in love with Sorsby, in my opinion, to be the team that does ultimately end up doing it. But I think those are the three teams that I would be eyeing. Aside from that, I mean, the Raiders have their quarterback, the Giants have their quarterback, Saints, Titans, Commanders, Chiefs. I just don't really see Joe Burrow, with the Bengals. I just don't see anybody else being in play here. It's really between the Jets, the Cardinals, and in my opinion, the Browns come in third there.
It's a great point.
Go ahead, Mike. There, real quick. I don't want him. That's why I'm saying a fourth. Like that's the main reason why I'm saying a fourth. If somebody's willing to take a second round flyer on him, then good riddance. I'm okay with it. That's just to make it clear.
And to Jake's point too, you are forfeiting getting a quarterback in 2027. This would be in replacement of that. You are saying we would be fine if the chips were to fall where they fall in the draft next year. We'd be fine with Sorsby. So much so we're going to get it done right now. And with that quarterback class projected to be what it's projected to be next year, it just adds that much more to the risk. Jesse, what do you make of this whole scenario? And if you were Arizona or perhaps another team in need of a quarterback, is this something you would explore? And if so, what would you be willing to give up?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely explore it. I mean, quarterback is always one of those positions that you're going to overpay for. But this is a player that needed another year of college. Like, there's a lot of interesting quarterbacks coming out this next year. And I mean, I got to imagine that he would have ranked probably as a second rounder, assuming that he played as well as what people expected he would this upcoming season. But he needed the extra year, in my opinion. And so to take draft capital from 2027, we just watched a whole draft happen, and we watched pretty much nobody want to give up any 2027 capital. In fact, we just saw a trade go down for one of the best receivers in the NFL in A.J. Brown, and no 2027 capital was given up because people understand the value of the 2027 capital and what that means. So for me, when I look at things, I'm like, why would you give up a second round pick for a guy who needed another year in college? He needed that evaluation, and this next draft class is supposed to be stacked. Somebody's probably going to give up a second rounder. I would advise against that personally, unless I can understand maybe the New York Jets, because I think they have 3 first-round picks, if I'm not mistaken. So a team like that could make sense. But if I'm Arizona, I'm not doing it. I'm going to wait until next year's draft. If you like Beck, you've got options there. That's what I would roll with. I would put up a third probably. That most likely doesn't get it done, and that's okay. I'm willing to walk away from it. I'm not going to give up a second round pick for a guy that I know is not my savior to my franchise. You hope that he can develop into something and maybe be your guy, but there's going to be a lot of those guys that you can evaluate at a much more thorough level next year and spend that same capital on and feel better about it versus this whole rushed system, giving up a future pick. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I agree with Mike, third, fourth, something like that. Even if it doesn't get it done, totally fine. I wouldn't do it if I was the Cardinals.
I will say this situation does scream New York Jets overpay. Like second round, you get them, and then you just never see them play. It just
your Buffalo sled showing, Z-Bot.
Yeah. Well, listen, my watching the league for my whole life, in particular watching the New York Jets over the last decade and a half, I think might be shown alongside, of course, of my AFC East bias. But you guys can't sit here and tell me this doesn't scream New York Jets all over it.
The first round picks. Yeah, the first round picks set it up for it. Like those guys you guys said below. It's like that it just makes it too. Already they're tempted. That's just like putting honey on it. Like,
hot honey.
I just think this is what I would say, and the Cardinals aren't in position to do this, but if the Jets or Browns draft him and then take a quarterback next year and double down on the stupidity, someone needs to get fired. And like, I'm actually of the belief, I think Andrew Berry might actually be a decent GM. I think there's a chance for him with the Browns. I kind of like what they're doing. I just hate what they're doing at quarterback. But I thought the Verse trade made sense with the timeline of the team. But if he were to do something like this and then still, again, if he goes, in for Sorsby, I have no issue with it. If you have conviction on this player, by all means, go out and do it, right? But if you truly are just shooting, you're throwing darts, that's just a second rounder essentially that you don't have to move up if you don't get the number 1 pick. Because like I've always looked at this like they're going to get Arch Manning. They're going to do whatever they can to get Arch Manning. I think that's why that they really were okay trading Myles Garrett. I mean, no, they wanted Jared Verse, but they also really wanted a first-round pick to kind of help with that package if they don't get the number 1 overall pick. I really feel like they want Arch Manning. And I think they're willing to make a like Godfather offer to do it if they don't have the number 1 overall pick. So it would look really stupid if they turned around after getting Sorsby to then be like, oh, well, we're still going to try and get Arch Manning. And then you get the headline, they just didn't have enough capital. And it's like you bozos had the second round pick right there, and then you gave it up for Sorsby. So if I see a team do that, I'll be a little annoyed. Just from like a team building aspect. But if anybody's going to do that, it's probably going to be the Jets.
Well, to your point,
D-Bot, can I ask real quick to Mike on this? Because I just brought up a question I wanted to ask Mike then in regards. Let's say you get the number 1 overall pick this next year's draft. Just wild thing happens. Who knows?
Right.
And they do give you that Godfather offer. If you knew that you weren't going to have the opportunity to be able to get your franchise quarterback in the draft, but it was going to be one of those, whoa, Nelly, deals, would you be willing to do that at that time?
So you're saying that if we did have the first overall pick, would I be willing to trade back? Essentially, what you're saying?
Jets come in like just what Jake said. They come in with a Godfather offer.
Ricky Williams
blows you out of the water. But the downside is like the Ricky, but better than Ricky Williams, superseding Ricky. It's Archie on the table. But the downside of that then becomes, and at that time, by the way, but Beck's not going to be the guy. So we can't do the thing of like hedging to Beck. Beck's out. He's a career backup. Let's just say we come to that conclusion.
Right.
If that's the reality, where would you lie on that as far as sit and pick or accept the Godfather offer?
Well, I mean, I guess it just depends on where they're at. And I know it's kind of a cop out, but I mean, like I'm only assuming if the Cardinals are sitting with the first overall pick, then Monty Ossenforth's out. I'm assuming he's not going to get another opportunity to be picking 4 out of the 5 years since he's been the general manager. So I'm assuming a guy's going to want to pick his guy. And I know when we kind of look at, the trajectory of what the quarterbacks are going to look like, we all can say to ourselves, oh, there might be like 4 or 5 of them out there, like projectedly. But like realistically, I think we all can say to ourselves, there's usually that one, the Joe Burrows, the potentially Caleb Williams of the world. All right. Like the guy right there that you want to get. So it's going to be really hard to get off because like I said, if you're sitting with the first overall pick, I'm only hoping all the stars out there that Monty Ossenforth isn't picking. So I would say stick and pick and get your guy. If you're the new general manager coming in here and that's your spot right there, it's going to be hard to not say, take that God offer, that God offer and move back. But what my mind is rolling is that if you want to get your guy, sit and pick and get the guy that you want to get. So I know it's kind of copping out, kind of saying both, but I think Monty's going to be out if we're sitting at the first overall pick. So I would say stick and pick and get your guy instead of moving back and just kind of trying to play I can always get this guy too back there. So I would say stick and pick.
Back to your point, Jake, by the way, the problem is you can't fire ownership. And the other thing, too, is that we watched the Browns draft Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel. I think it would shock nobody if they threw a second-round pick into the ring and said, hey, you know what, let's add Sorsby into the mix here. Watson's coming back. Apparently, he's healthier than ever, ready to roll. So why not throw another one in the mix there over in Cleveland? Would be hilarious.
There's risk, by the way. You do this and it comes out that you did it, even if you don't get the player.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely some risk involved in how that looks to the people currently in the organization. I mean, you see this Shedeur Sanders. I know it's social media and it's PR and all of that, but you see him dapping up Todd Monken and I can't wait to work with you. And then they turn around and they're like, hey, Braden Sorsby, come on in. Like, it's not the best look, but I honestly think they should give Shedeur a shot this year. I think they should send Deshaun Watson to the nearest bayou and just let him chill over there. And then I think that like Dylan Gabriel that's not a serious play. Like I think they should probably, I mean, I know what's his face loves him over with the Falcons, so they should just send him over there and just let Shedeur Sanders play this year. See what you have in him. I don't understand why every single year it's the Browns just can't do this quarterback thing. They drafted Baker Mayfield number 1 overall, and they had Freddie Kitchens there at the time, and then they get rid of Baker, make it all out to be like it's his fault, even though they're the Browns. And where have they been since? Have they gone back to the playoffs since they got rid of Baker? No, they haven't. So, yeah, I understand, like, you paid a lot to Deshaun Watson. You made a big trade. I get that. But here's the reality of the situation. You lost it. It's like being at the roulette table and you're down and be like, oh, I'll just go to the ATM and just pick out 200 more bucks and throw it all on green. It's like, that's what they're doing. Like, Deshaun Watson should not even be on the team right now. So, yeah, I'd like to see them roll with Shedeur Sanders. I won't be surprised if they make a play for Sorsby, but I guess we'll see. But I will say, at the 25-minute mark, Cardinals fans, this has been the Cardinals edition of the NFC West Roundtable.
How
That's
about
for
it?
damn sure. How about it? Long
Hard
time
to
coming.
shine.
And Jake, by the way, the Browns fans tuning in are real mad at you that you glossed over Joe Flacco's epic performance against the Houston Texans post Baker Mayfield in the playoffs. I think it was 45-13 or something like that, was it, in the wild card round?
Yeah,
So
that's right.
how could you forget that one, Jake?
I know. Look at me forgetting. I don't give a rip. And then they traded him too.
Yeah, why not?
Like mid-season to their rival. So I don't want to hear it from Browns fans.
Speaking of forgetting stuff, I'm going to test my visual awareness here. Brando, how long has it been since you've replaced the DK jersey with the JSN jersey?
Oh, shoot. It's been months, man.
Months.
Didn't know it's either.
Wow.
Months.
Had a feeling you were going to say that. I was hoping you were going to say days, and it's been months. How about that? I'm just noticing for the first time the DK is gone. The JSN is up, and it's looking good back there. Where's the Super Bowl memorabilia, by the way? You waiting for that to go on sale?
I got some stuff coming in. Yeah. I'm getting ready to potentially move. So rather than reorganize everything right, then I have to reorganize it again on move. I'm trying to hold off on that a little
I'll
bit.
be right back.
All right, Brando's got all the new Super Bowl merch waiting at his new spot, just in boxes piling up until he moves in. All right, well, we're talking about the Cardinals, and we'll see if Brendan Sorsby winds up going there or not, and if he doesn't, we'll see if the Cardinals end up putting a bid in. But speaking of the Cardinals, in the thick of things here in the NFC West, with how good Seattle's been, of course, winning the Super Bowl, the Rams right on their heels last year, the Niners were in the thick of things too. It's been the Cardinals, unfortunately, that have been on the outside looking in here, but according to Kyle Juszczyk, apparently the 49ers are the team that people are forgetting about in the NFC West. He sat down with the insiders recently, talking to the fellas about where they stand in the NFC West. He gave congratulations, of course, to the Seahawks for winning it and how great the Rams were last year. But Kyle Juszczyk, who, of course, is Jake's favorite player in the NFL, he was talking about the San Francisco 49ers. And he said, if people want to forget about us, that's fantastic. That's a good place to be sometimes. Jesse, do you view your Niners as a team that's forgotten about with the success the Rams and the Seahawks have had as of late?
I don't think so. I mean, the 49ers, if anything, get a boost from the national media. I feel like we're always a topic of conversation, and deservedly so. I mean, this is one of the most historic franchises. They've had a lot of recent success, especially under the Shanahan era. So, no, I don't think that the 49ers are being forgotten at all. I think, if anything, a lot of people are giving them a good chance to go out and upset some people and make a run. And you know, Mike Evans is being looked at as like some major signing that should put them over the top, and they've got all the talent in the world. So no, I don't think you can ever have a Kyle Shanahan coach team be overlooked, because he's so well respected within NFL circles, within NFL media. You got John Lynch, who came over from media. He's obviously a Super Bowl champion player himself. Those guys have a lot of cachet. So no, major media is what drives the ship, or steers the ship, when it comes to how these teams are talked about and looked at. And anytime you have Kyle Shanahan at the helm, along with John Lynch as your GM, you're not going to be overlooked. And it's ironic because Juszczyk says this as he's being interviewed by a major publication. Kittle just got interviewed by a major publication. Like, these guys are not being overlooked at all. But I will say, if that's the motivation, if that's what they feel like they need to do or use as like bulletin board material, sometimes, you know, making things up and making yourselves seem like the underdog is a good way to go. So if that's the mindset, I'll definitely take it. But I think I don't think it's real. I think it's fabricated.
To his point, though, because of the Rams and the Seahawks, I feel like we do slightly forget that they did win 13 games last year. I don't know if they were talked about to a degree in which a 13-win season would justify. And it's interesting where they sit in this division. If they were in any other division, maybe it would feel different. But Mike, what do you feel when you think of the Niners, just based on how we talk about the Rams, how we talk about the Seahawks? do they seem like a team that is on the outside of that bubble, or do you view them closer to that bubble than not?
I feel like they're closer than that bubble. I mean, talk about a guy that's forgotten, man. We're the redheaded stepchild in this division. I mean, let's be real here. I mean, that's a kind of that's kind of a silly question. I mean, I think the 49ers, and to Jesse's point, I mean, I do believe that fan base and the fandom that they have over there is probably based off of the 5 Super Bowls that they have and the quest for 6, which they've been waiting for like 20 plus years now. So like it's one of those things that they're always going to have a strong talking point about, because no matter if it's Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo, or whoever they got at quarterback, I mean, Kyle Shanahan is a proven guy. He's a winner. I mean, and when he loses sometimes in a year, he bounces back up and he finds a way to win. I mean, there's no excuses. That's an organization that strives for success year in and year out, and sometimes it doesn't work, right? That's just the way the NFL is. But no, I don't see them as far away from the other two guys in this division here, right? Like the Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. Not at all. No, absolutely. I think they are up there with them. I think the Cardinals are the ones that are forgotten a lot, and they're the ones going to have to prove to stay within the big dogs, right, in this division. And I've heard a lot of people out there kind of having a debate between the NFC North and the NFC West. I still do believe these guys hold enough weight to kind of boost us up a little bit. I still think it's the best division in the NFL, but no, I don't think the 49ers are that far off. I don't think they're better than the Rams and the Seahawks by no stretch of the imagination, no. But I mean, 10 plus wins, is it still going to happen? As long as you have Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy, you'll be fine.
Brando, how do you view the Niners? Because from your perspective, it is interesting. They got the best of you week 1 last year, but the last 2 matchups, including the playoffs, I mean, they couldn't move the ball. Seattle absolutely dominated them. With that said, though, 13 wins in a season where I think with what went wrong injury-wise, I don't think people would have penned them in for 13 wins. How do you view them going into the year? Because I think obviously from your perspective, you circle those Rams games. When the schedule came out, we immediately looked at the end of the season, right? Those 2 games in the final 3 weeks. We're looking at that saying that's what it's probably going to come down to, like last year. But when you think San Francisco from the Seattle end of things, how do you view that?
Well, I actually find myself feeling a lot of respect for them in where they're still at. And I'm feeling like in a lot of ways, Kyle did some of his best coaching work last year to get them to 13 wins. And it goes to show just how good of a coach he still is. And I do think that they are behind necessarily us and the Rams, but as much of that's just the anticipation of where they're going to be at health-wise for as old of a roster as they built and how injury-riddled it's been in recent seasons. Like you said last year, it's a great representation of it. They come in that week 1, give us all we can handle, come away with a win. Then by the end of the year, we're able to just blow the doors off them. Not in maybe the second matchup, it was 13-3, but we basically kind of comfortably had the game. And in the second game, we were able to really outpace them. And that was as much because of the injuries. But I have said, and I do believe this, that if they can somehow dance on that knife's edge in roller skates and find a way to keep the health on point throughout the course of the season to the important people. This is the Fred Warner, the Greenlaws, the Bosa's, the Trent Williams, the McCaffreys. Yes, it's a lot, but it does happen at times. Teams can sometimes gleam through that little cube and get to the other side of that. And if they can maintain that health, I truly believe that they can be as dangerous as the Seahawks and as the Rams. I just don't have a huge belief that that's going to be a reality.
Jake, you know it too. From your perspective, we were at the game last year. I mean, you got Mac Jones starting. We asked everybody going in there. I mean, who do you think wins the game? It was a resounding LA. I mean, what are you talking about? And they got the best of the Rams, and they got the best of a lot of teams last year. What do you make of San Francisco? Because much like Brando circling your Rams, I know you circle the Seahawks, the way those games went down last year. But when you look at San Francisco, how do you view them from the Rams side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of respect for the Niners. I think these are the 3 best teams in the NFL. I really do. I mean, and I think that, the 49ers kind of showed that with their medal last year, with all the injuries that they suffered, and they were still able to win that many games and be that competitive, even down to the end when they were playing guys, that weren't even supposed to be playing. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for them. Doesn't mean that I like them, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for them, just like I do with Seattle. I think this division is the best in football by a country mile, but I don't think people realize just how good it is, because I also don't think the Cardinals are as bad as people are, they shouldn't be bottom feeders at the point where they have the best odds to get the number 1 pick. I think it's ridiculous that they're, underdogs in every single game. But I also think that, like, with Seattle, I would actually push back on the Niners being like kind of not talked about. Like, I think that's just Juszczyk pumping up his team, which like he has every right to do. I would say Seattle is, because, they won it all last year. And to be fair, they beat the Rams and they're so behind the Rams now. It's like double Super Bowl odds favorite now for the Rams. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think the Rams are the better team, and I've said that, but I think it's definitely disrespect to the team that just won it. And they didn't just like barely win it. They absolutely blew the doors off the Patriots. So I guess that's kind of how I see it. I actually think the team that's being overlooked is the Seattle Seahawks. And I remember this because when the Rams won the Super Bowl, everybody was saying it's going to be a Super Bowl hangover. And I think people just try to be right more than be accurate. And I know it happened, but it really wasn't a hangover when you look at it. They were in a lot of games. They had 17 different offensive line combinations, and they had all sorts of injuries, including Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, and Matthew Stafford missing half the season. So, obviously that could certainly happen because injuries do affect this game. But if you're not speaking, from the sign of like, okay, yeah, I could see like Seattle just, they have a rough year or whatever, everybody's out to get them or whatever. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense how all of a sudden they're this far behind the Rams. I mean, I told you on this show, I still believe the Rams are the best team on paper right now, but they got to go out and prove that. The other day, I forget who said it, Brandon, you'll have to let me know because I'm totally blanking. But I think it was Ian Rappaport actually, and he said they had to prove themselves. I didn't like that choice of words because I just felt like they just did. And mind you, I'm an unbiased participant here because I'm not a Seahawks fan. But I just felt like the dialogue, the verbiage, like it just felt like a team that got lucky last year. And I don't view them as that. And I felt like that was kind of disrespectful. And so, yes, I think they're the team, not really the 49ers. I hear about the 49ers all the time. Seattle is kind of flying under the radar, even though they're hiding in plain sight at the top of, the chart for betting odds.
I think you're on. Well, I mean, you'll obviously get an argument for me about, we're not getting enough respect. The thing with it though is I don't want to portray it as really like a bitching, moaning session because it's not that. I think that the nature of this beast sometimes is that, the same thing can affect San Francisco at times. We're up in the West, we're up in the Pacific Northwest. You get forgotten a little bit just naturally there, whether you're good or not. That's kind of the nature of the beast. It's an East Coast driven league in many ways. I do agree though with Jake in that we're not being talked about as much. I think the Rams have done a lot to encourage this talk by the big moves that they've made. And when you make big splashy moves and you were that good a team from the prior year, it's going to cause the media to kind of fawn over you a bit. But I agree. I also think that with that fawning has occurred sort of a quieting when it comes to the Seahawks and what they did last year. And it's even got to the point where it's like that 2-point conversion thing. I'm seeing multiple now pundits on almost a weekly basis coming out and referencing back to that play as though our whole season came down to that. And that's the part that especially where you just go, okay, that seems to be a bit of a representation of the situation, being that, as I've said often on this show many times, that people still kind of don't understand why we were so good, or they think it's just, it was just a flight of fancy that happened. We just got lucky. All the cards broken our way. It's kind of like that. And I don't agree with that. I think we earned it, like you said, Jake, and we'll get to see this year. But it's kind of weird. It's part of what I think that we have to sometimes do with this, where you talk up your team and ask to come at the expense of the others, where I try to kind of double back around again and again. And it's not empty talk because I'm trying to gas these guys up here. It's that I do really believe with the Rams and as Jake said, with the 49ers here, that these are as good a teams as you'll find. And the Cardinals are in a really tough division. It makes it really hard for them on this, how far they've got to try to climb on this. But it's because of the pace these teams are setting in this division and how good they are in full. And that you can talk about all of them without just being this one clear one that rises up in front of all the others, in my opinion.
Brando, how much do you think that flying under the radar would be non-existent if you were to have flipped the Rams and the Patriots? So what I mean by that is the Patriots were the Rams and you beat the hell out of them in the NFC Championship, but then you have a similar game to the NFC Championship in the Super Bowl. Because I wonder if just beating the hell out of a team in the Patriots that many people thought didn't deserve to be there based on their path leads to what you guys are talking about here, where the Seahawks win it and maybe they're not being talked about as such.
It's possible. I think it's more of the surprise factor, Z-Bot. Nobody thought we were supposed to even be good last year, say nothing of even a playoff team, and then that team goes and wins the Super Bowl. I think we'd be pretty hard-pressed in recent memory to go back and find another team that was looked at in the prior to the year here and then got all the way to there. And that it just, in the NFL, it takes a while for people to kind of catch up to things. It's like the Pro Bowl voting, where guys continue on reputation to get in, and guys who sometimes have a year where they should be in Pro Bowl don't get in because their reputation quite hasn't caught up to that. Oh yeah, I know that guy. He's been here for a couple of years. And so when it happens this fast, I think within the general NFL, it just takes a lot of people a little bit of time to kind of, catch up to what's really going on. But then again, that doesn't mean that it was something that just happened randomly. It just means that the people aren't really paying as close attention to things.
The World Cup is well underway. The U.S. looked as good as they ever have the other night, beating Paraguay 4-1. The stadiums in the NFC West are being well represented in the World Cup, which you think would be good for the NFL, but maybe it isn't. We'll talk about that in just a second. Before we do, I want to give a shout out to my friends over at Prize Picks, the presenting sponsor of the NFC West Roundtable. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports pick app and is the best place to win cash while watching sports. The app is really easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. You can do so right now. Even though it's the off season, all of the future lines for your favorite players are up over on Prize Picks, including more or less for your favorite quarterbacks, pass TDs, passing yards, receivers, receiving TDs, receiving yards, running backs, rushing yards, rushing TDs. It's all up over on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. And right now, via the link in the description below, click that, sign up for Prize Picks. New users using the promo code HMA will get $50 in lineups once they play $5. Once again, use the promo code HMA. That will get you $50 in free lineups once you play $5 in lineups. So, with the World Cup underway, many U.S. stadiums being represented and hosting games, including San Francisco Stadium, Seattle Stadium, and L.A. Stadium, as they're being called. Apparently, the FIFA regulations did not allow for the branding rights to be associated with these stadiums, so we're just calling them by their host cities. And as you're watching the games, you may notice there's something different about your favorite team stadium, and that is that they are featuring beautiful grass, or the pitch, as they call it in soccer. Grass in abundance. Will not play on anything but grass. FIFA right now is sort of the model of what field conditions should look like. And as I was looking into this, I saw an interesting article from Fansided who said World Cup pitch success embarrasses NFL in real grass versus turf debate. They put up the idea that maybe FIFA should be in charge of all outdoor stadium competition surfaces worldwide. They noted that through all the games thus far in the World Cup, there haven't been any significant injuries. And based on just watching it visually, it just seems to be superior to turf. Now, if you've been watching the NFL for a long time, you know this is a massive debate. Players seem to really want grass. The owners do not want to accompany it because it's far easier to use turf, bring it in and out. You can set up for concerts or basketball tournaments, whatever. But when you're watching the World Cup come to the States, and you're watching these owners bend over backwards for FIFA and immediately put in that grass, it makes you wonder why they can't do so for the NFL. And I know we've had this conversation before, fellas, but it's never been more prevalent right now because you're watching it in real time. And I know one of the stadiums in particular, MetLife, that's a stadium that many fans look at and say that's just a destination for people to go play on and have an injury. They, of course, usher in beautiful grass to play the World Cup with. And of course, Brando, Lumen Stadium, they got grass right now. Levi Stadium, grass. SoFi even has grass. So Brando, I'll start with you here. What do you make of this? In what would you feel like from the NFL player side of things if you were somebody that really advocated and wanted grass to watch these owners kind of bend over backwards for the World Cup, knowing they won't do the same for their own players?
Yeah, I think that there's two things that are utterly ridiculous and really at times show some of the just laughability of the ownership as far as their commitment to the product on the field. First off, the lack of full-time umpires, referees, and then the lack of willingness to put in grass in all of these stadiums where you can definitely do so. And I still do not understand how the cost can be so exponential, how it can be so over the line that they can't put it in and manage it. It feels like maybe $1 million issue or something a year to me, or a couple $1 million issue to a multi-billion-dollar business. And this is to, again, not only improve the product, but maintain the health of your players, which is kind of important because the healthier the players, the better the product, the more eyeballs. And you would think the NFL would be able to do this type of math, but quite simply, they just go into their little, I picture Scrooge, right? Just over there, just like just clutching onto his coins, just going, no, they won't get it. They'll play on the surface we put them upon. It's like, okay, why not spikes? It's like, this is the same ownership though that put him on AstroTurf in the 80s, which was just like concrete for players. So I'm not surprised, but it's absolutely ridiculous.
From a relatable level, it feels like if you worked at a company for years and they said, no, you're not working at home. You got to come into the office every single day. Then they hire a new batch of employees. Oh, go ahead. You can work at home all you want. Go ahead. Well, we're just going to let you do whatever you want. That's kind of what it feels like. And if you're the employee who's got to go to the office, you're sitting there saying, I work for these guys. I've been working for them forever and I can't do it. Jesse, I'll go to you here because I know George Kittle, among many, has been one of the more vocal players on this issue. I mean, if you're George Kittle sitting there watching this, how can you possibly not feel as though you're being slighted by the organization that you play for?
Yeah, I mean, George Kittle is actually very, very bright when it comes to what's best for the players. He talked about, the 18 weeks and the 2 bye weeks, which we've talked about multiple times here on this channel as well. But he knows exactly what the right thing to do is. And this is frustrating for many reasons. One, it goes to show you that the World Cup and soccer, more so than football, is still the biggest sport in the world. And they have more cachet than even the NFL, as hard as that is to believe, that they can just roll into these places and be like, yeah, give us grass and make it perfect. And the NFL stadiums and owners, they bend over backwards. That's number one. So that's frustrating to see. But we know that these owners are cheap. Again, how many times do we have to hear, oh, it's about the product on the field and players' health, but then we get Thursday night games and Tuesday games and Wednesday games and 18 weeks and only 1 bye week and all the things that we know that as hardcore fans do not make the product better and do not protect the players' health. And this is just another one of those things that proves out over time that NFL owners could give a rip about players' health. It's all about money. They're making good coin. That's all they care about. And so they'll give the grass to the World Cup because they know there's a lot of money behind it. It's not only that. At Levi Stadium, York not only put in grass, but he redid the stadium because they were going to get the Super Bowl and they were going to get the World Cup. He didn't do it because of the fan experience from the guys that buy season tickets and spend thousands and thousands of dollars to watch his 49ers. He did it for soccer. Like, this was a whole offseason project last offseason to make the stadium better so it was ready for these big events. But he didn't do that for the fan base. He doesn't care because he knows that the fans are going to buy season tickets regardless. And that's all he cares about. It's a money ploy all the way around. That's what these owners are about. And this is just another example of it.
SoFi Stadium, one of the stadium, Jake, as I mentioned, that brought in grass for the World Cup. Quentin Lake gave a quote on this situation. He said, quote, "I would hope that one day, maybe in the near future, they can do it for us." What do you make of the owners kind of dropping everything, throwing out grass for these soccer players? Meanwhile, the NFL players, they want it. They won't get it.
Yeah, speaking of smart players, George Kittle and then Quentin Lake, love that. But yeah, I think my thing here, and I was reading about this, Albert Breer was saying that it sounds like the Rams would be interested. And this would probably have already happened with the grass at SoFi. But having 2 teams there is causing the holdup. And I would assume, and it sure sounds like this is the case, it's because, well, you have Dean Spanos, who's probably the poorest owner in professional sports. He is paying Kroenke a lease to essentially be there, and the NFL forced 2 teams to have this whole experience when really the Rams confront the bill on their own. Kroenke basically fronted the entire bill on his own. But be that as it may, it sounds like Spanos would obviously have to be charged more to, the upkeep for the grass. And that doesn't seem like that's going to happen anytime soon. So I have no issue with the Chargers. I think Dean Spanos is a just absolute embarrassment when it comes to ownership. He shouldn't own a team. There's a reason his sister sued him. He's not a good owner. But yeah, when I found out that was really the reason why SoFi doesn't have grass, I was a little pissed off about that. But yeah, I do think it's coming. I just think that this sport is too big. I know, FIFA and all of that. They're giants, and soccer is huge around the world. But also the NFL is pretty big too. And eventually the players are going to come together and they're going to get motion on this. And it is going to happen someday. I don't know when that is, but I think Jesse said, he made a lot of really good points. You can't tell me it's all about player safety and then just have these players playing all throughout the week on short weeks playing. And also you can't tell me about player safety and have that AFC championship in those snowy conditions. Because I say what you will, I know that's football, right? It's really not, right? And it is a player safety risk. Guys are slipping, all of that. I just there's so much of that, and I couldn't agree more. I do hope eventually because I just want the players to be healthy, and I think obviously the product would be better if we didn't have so many injuries. And I think the best way to do that is obviously cut down the amount of turf fields that you have. Nothing is going to be perfect. You're playing a dangerous sport. You're going to have injuries by virtue of that, but you can at least try to do a better job of keeping, the prizes on the field, the guys who people buy jerseys of and get autographs of and collect football cards of. Maybe, focus a little bit more on their well-being.
Yeah, and I've noticed, a lot of people coming over from overseas. The one thing I've noticed that they've said is they're blown away at how incredible these facilities are. I think they would be stunned to know that the grass being used, how awesome those fields are. That's not what we see on a weekly basis. Mike, where do you stand on this whole thing, seeing the grass come in for the World Cup and it's not being used for NFL games?
Yeah, well, great points from everybody on this panel. Unfortunately, the Arizona Cardinals haven't been chosen, but it's 110 degrees here. They don't want anybody coming over and burning themselves. So, obviously, just joke there. But no, I agree that the player safety is number one thing. Is what they should be thinking about. But money talks, man. Like we want to talk about how football it is, and it's king here in the United States. It is, but the United States is just a country in this big world of what is superior, the biggest sport out there, and what's one of the biggest events the whole world's watching is the World Cup. So it sucks to see the owners do that, right? It does. As a fan, as players, seeing them do that, it sucks because when you think of a billionaire, you really probably don't think it's too much more to make it to where it's actually safe for the players. But at the end of the day, you have a big corporation like FIFA coming in here saying, hey, this is what we want to do. I don't think there's any questions asked. They're like, yeah, we'll do it. No worries. That's fine. And if we did have any games here, I'm assuming Bidwell would do exactly the same thing. It'd be like, yeah, I got you, man. No worries. Yeah, it is what it is. Right. So I don't know, man. It does suck, but I don't want to say I understand it because I don't. But on the other side of the coin, what's the biggest event out there right now? It's the FIFA World Cup, and you would hope that the NFL and these owners would say, what's something that we can do to help out our players, and it's to keep themselves. And like Jake said, regardless if you even have grass or not, you're going to have injuries. This is a much physical, brutal sport compared to the soccer, right? And although you can touch a soccer player, you can roll 5 times and say, it's such a different sport. So even if you do have grass, you're still gonna have injuries. But at least if you have something to try to help negate all these injuries that we're getting, at least if it's a 1%, 5% chance help, why not? Why not, owners do something like that? But we know, man, money talks at the end of the day, and anything to save a pretty penny. I know I'm an Arizona Cardinal fan. Michael Bidwell loves to save pennies here and there. So it sucks, but that's just kind of the world we live in, unfortunately.
54 minutes in the books on a Tuesday evening. It's time for the best part of the show. It is Super Chat time. We'll kick things off with our guy, the Warhammer, saying, I like Sorsby, but a day 2 pick would be insanity. Well, I don't know, fellas, but I'm thinking there's going to be some insane team out there that gets it done with a day 2.
And it's that thing I was talking about on this hard lotto system with these quarterbacks now. I think that when you saw progression, you could see a stair stepper. If we went back to 2005 and saw a quarterback going from freshman to just, junior year, you'd get a little bit more of this incremental improvement thing or big jumps. And now what you'll see is you get a guy bursting on the scene and maybe he just tops out, or maybe he then bottoms out and then he comes back up. And it's Very hard. But the point is that the upside is there with Sorsby and that also exists. And so it's the nature of the beast when it comes to the quarterback position is it still remains a dice roll for pretty much most teams, even with those, with all the advanced scouting and all the background stuff and all of that. It just leads to teams to just take shots.
Yeah. Especially the Jets with a lot of draft picks.
By the way,
That's right.
I know people are a little worried about his gambling, and I get that. Cam Newton ended up being pretty good, right? He was stealing laptops. He got kicked out of Florida. So, these guys, they're still young, and they still are going to do stupid shit. And at the end of the day, I think taking a flyer on a guy, if you have conviction, I think it'll work out if you believe in the player and you can, put what you need around him and give him what he needs to develop. I have no issue with grabbing him second, or hell, if you love him enough, throw a first rounder out there. If you love him enough. I'm not saying I would, but I mean, if you're like sitting here saying, well, that's who I was going to draft number 1 overall in 2027, then why would you even risk it?
Crab legs.
Woody Johnson.
That's my no good. No go is crab legs is my no go. Gambling, yes. Stealing crab legs, no.
That's stealing laptops.
That's my line.
We're good on that.
If you're gonna
That's a gray area, Jake. Okay, I haven't determined that, but I think it's crab legs. There's something low down about you. Like that's a dirty dog there that's going to steal crab legs. So can't go there. Can't have you leave
Baker
my franchise.
Mayfield too. What like I don't even remember. He ran into a cop or something. I don't even know. It was
ran
bizarre.
from a cop. It was on video doing it.
Yeah, just there's been some wild stuff. I mean, I don't know. I like they're still young. Like I'm not saying I'm not saying I did that stuff, but I'm saying that stuff does happen, I guess.
Banker coming in wants to know, what NFL game do you wish you were alive to see?
Mm-hmm.
The 1951 Rams-Browns NFL championship game at the Coliseum.
Wow, 1951.
Yep, the greatest show on grass, they called him. They had 2 quarterbacks. They had Bob Waterfield and Norm Van Brocklin. And they had Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch, who was a Hall of Famer, incredible player. And they had Tom Fears. And they also had the Bull Elephant backfield. They had like 3 or 4 running backs that were studs. Dan Towler was one of those guys. So I'm a football historian, so I absolutely. I was
going to say those are all household names. Those are guys my mom would know if I brought them up. She'd be like, "Oh yeah, I know what Jake's talking about." Back in the 50s.
Yeah,
fellas.
The Super Bowl III, Jets Colts, the
merger game.
Yeah, the merger game, all of it, man. So yeah, give me that one.
For me, 1993 Bills comeback against the Houston Oilers at the time. Frank Reich making a name for himself, coming in for Jim Kelly, down 35-3, coming all the way back in the wild card round.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Man, I don't know. I'd be hard pressed on this one. I've been alive for almost all the Seahawks games, showing my age, so that's a tough one to pull back there for. But probably those late 70s games, man, that was back when football was played at maybe its most brutal and vicious. Take a Raiders team up against like one of the Steelers teams in the late 70s, one of those conference championships. That would have been kind of fun to watch those two teams go at it.
The sad part is I think I might have seen the best of the Cardinals since I've been alive. So I don't even know how.
Oh man,
it's crazy. So
maybe it's a good thing.
Megan knows ball. Said,
hey, Z-Bot.
Yeah.
I was alive during that game you're talking about, and that was a hell of a game.
It was. So. I watched it live too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You couldn't believe it. You couldn't believe, like, they were the Oilers were shell shocked. Like, you could just feel it on the sidelines in their faces. They're just walking like they couldn't believe what just hit them.
Maybe someday people will be talking about that Knicks 29-point comeback in the way we're talking about this game. In terms of one that you're thinking back on, what would you wish you were alive for? I remember I was the other night, I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is one of those games you'll be talking about forever. That was crazy. And I live not too far from New York City. It's been pandemonium down here.
I bet.
Were you alive when they kind of got revenge in 2000 with the home run throwback play, the Music City Miracle?
I was in diapers. I was in diapers, but I was alive.
So you wouldn't remember that one either. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that was a hell of an ending too.
Yeah, one that I'm glad I don't remember fondly. I was going to say the wide right game too, just so I could be, I can share the misery that all my fellow Bills Mafia members share. But
that was a forward lateral.
Damn right it was.
It
Damn right.
No, it wasn't.
It absolutely
And Doug, hey, by the way, Doug Flutie should still have started.
Yeah, and
That's
Brandon Cooks
that's the
caught it
true. That's
last
the
year.
true reality of that one.
It's always something, right? HHG. Who pulled the biggest heist? Texans or Hawks?
Who'd the Texans heist?
Oh, is this Russell Wilson and
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson?
Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The Deshaun Watson one to me probably supersedes it because you did the 3 first-round picks. And look, Texans are good partly because of that draft capital that you had from it, but it's very close.
Are any of those guys remaining though?
I'd have to
Because
look it up.
I mean, keep in mind the guy that was part of that. They used didn't they use their picks to go out and get the tackle Tunsil, and then they traded him away. So I like that. You know, I don't know what they got for.
well, they got,
Tunsil.
Will Anderson, Lassiter, Kalen Bullock is a pretty solid piece for them.
They got all those through this trade.
That's what it's saying on the search I just did, but it may be
if that's
it may
the
be
case,
incorrect
then
on
yeah.
that.
But I was gonna say, I mean, the Hawks got a lot for Russell Wilson.
Yeah, it's there's a couple. I mean, the Kenyon Green one that they took in the first round. Damian Pierce, Cade Stover, Tank Dell. Can he come back from the leg injury? We'll see. But Anderson and Lassiter are very. I mean, Anderson
but
might be a
Deshaun, we
DPO
also
wide
knew
somewhere.
Deshaun had those issues, like the legal stuff, and they still were able to pull that trade off.
That's why I got to give him the nod. You touch on
Yeah.
it. That's why you have to give him the nod. Where it's like people still thought with Russ that he had still the pixie dust on his back, and with Deshaun, it's like you knew he was out there just doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah, it will
I don't
go down
understand
as the
how his
worst
play
transaction of all
suffered
time.
so badly.
Who, Deshaun?
Huh?
He never looked like Deshaun Watson.
I think mentally he was so disheveled by the whole thing that he was just never going to be able to return. When you're in a locker room and you're the face of a franchise and you are a story for all the wrong reasons, I think it was mental. I think he completely unraveled mentally.
I think you're right.
Well, yeah, it's like you're getting looks. Even if they're not talking to you, they're giving you looks. Like these guys got sisters. They got like it's once you get that reputation too. It's like you might just like. Even if you're super strong mentally, you're not just shaking that off, being like, no big deal. I'm a rapist, whatever.
It's why it's kind of shocking to me. The Browns just had the perfect opportunity over the last calendar year, especially with the Shadur hype, to like quietly move off of Watson. If they would have cut him in the middle of all that, I don't really think anyone would have cared. But now he's back in the fold again. He just met with the media for the first time in like over a year. And there's rumors he could potentially be the starter. And it's just bringing it back to the forefront again. Once again, it's the Cleveland Browns, folks. We got Meg coming in.
Very ugly.
Remember, too, they double back down that contract. So they gave him a fully guaranteed contract, and then they came back around on it again and put void years and kept extending it off. So they didn't allow themselves an out in the deal to be able to move off him in the first place.
It's so bad.
It's the worst of all time. We got our girl Meg.
Sunk cost fallacy, man,
they
there.
Paid Russ $89 million to just not play quarterback for them. They're like, just screw it. We're just, we're gonna bite the bullet here. Sometimes that's what you got to do. And when you're the Browns, it's not like you were about to win a Super Bowl. I don't know why they didn't do that.
I was going to say, it's turned out
to your
pretty
point.
well
That's
for
the
Seahawks.
lesson. Jake just touched on it. That's the lesson. You look at the Brown situation. Go make the big deal. Like, be willing to go do that. But then if it doesn't work, don't double back down on it. Don't like try to rectify the contract and sit there and, spin yourself in circles to make it right. Just get through the other side of it at that point and realize your mistake.
Megan's saying a 3D printed Lombardi incoming for Brando. That would be sweet. You should get like a 7-foot one to put in the background there. That would be epic.
She's got one. She's got a buddy that's making one sending me it my way. So it's going up on
nice.
It'll go up right there.
Love it. I've always said if the Bills actually end up winning it, which they inevitably will not in my lifetime. Honestly, there's part of me that says thank God, because I think financially it would be the worst thing that has ever happened to me in my entire life. I wouldn't have a cent left. I would own everything. The Warhammer. What Niners stars are under 26? The fall off is going to hit hard, Jesse.
Yeah, I've talked about this a lot this offseason, man. Bleacher Report put out a article about players under 27, the future of franchises. They ranked the 49ers, I believe, 28th out of 32 teams. And I most recently talked about this when it pertains to Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk is the whole situation sucks, but what wasn't and hasn't been discussed enough, in my opinion, is that he was one of those cornerstone pieces that you could count on, or were supposed to be able to count on before the injury and all the things that happened, to help Brock Purdy and this next wave of players. I mean, Trent Williams and Kittle and CMC, these guys are all aging. They're going to be gone soon. And that's major talent that is leaving this roster. How do you replace that? In the last few drafts, it doesn't seem like they've gotten the elite talent out of those drafts to replace those guys. So losing a guy like Brandon Ayuk really, really does impact that talent moving forward. And yeah, the 49ers are definitely missing it, man. And they are in danger of being in serious trouble for years to come if they cannot figure out how to get an influx of supreme talent through the draft over the next couple of years. This thing could end quickly and poorly.
Michael Williams will be nice if he can stay
Freddie
healthy.
K.
Not Walter Nolan nice. No, I'm just joking. I don't know.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, he's got the work ethic, though. He's got that work ethic that Nolan's been missing, though.
Oh, all right, calm down.
Freddie K. Boom basement saying, fellas, can't be here today. Have a great show, Freddie. Appreciate you as always, brother. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next week. Dylan dropping off
nice.
the boys and for the boys.
Thank you, brother.
Shout out to Dylan. Appreciate you, my man. Dylan saying grass debate is probably more complicated than, quote, it's more expensive. But I'd ask, would the grass rolled out onto these stadiums be the up to the task of the 300-pound men driving with force versus some soccer athletes flopping and skipping on their toes?
Well, I mean, that's where the players come back in, and the players come in and tell you that they much prefer grass. I mean, it isn't even like, well, it's kind of split on their side of it. It's much with the players saying, hey, it's just a better, and the thing with this is that these guys have now gotten really big. To his point on the 300-pound men, guys have gotten bigger and stronger, and muscles get bigger, but ligaments do not. And so the more that you can mitigate that, the more that you can protect those things as these bodies continue to get bigger and then continue to get faster and cut harder on these ligaments that have a finite amount of strength, you probably should try to take those steps to protect it. There'll not be any perfect surface that's going to create no injuries. But to me, that's going to continue in the future. These guys are going to continue to get faster. They're going to continue to get bigger. And unless they figure out some multivitamin they can kick to these guys, the ligaments are not going to get stronger.
I think one thing to also keep in mind here, too, is that these soccer players refuse to play on anything else. There's a reason why there is grass at these fields. They will not play on anything else. So when you think about it, if they're refusing to play on anything but that, it might lend you to believe that there's something to that. And it's just crazy to see these stadiums.
I mean, when you're flopping the way they do, you gotta have some grass.
The flopping point's a strong point by Dylan. I got to say that's one we can't undersell. Is like, you're willing to just throw yourself to the ground at any given turn, whatever the reasons, then yeah, that might help yourself out a little bit.
By the way, the NFL is bigger than the MLB. I think we can all agree on that.
Oh yeah.
Why is it that the MLB has no issue with their grounds crew fixing up their field? And mind you, I know this. Yankee Stadium will literally host, New York City Football Club. They'll have multiple games. They'll trash the field. They'll have Bon Jovi. They'll have all these bands. And yet the Yankees are playing on that field and it looks exactly how it needs to look. I just don't understand how, we can make all these, all these defenses for the NFL. Oh, there'd be a lot of like the grounds crew. Tough shit. Like MLB, they have a game every day. Like, you know what I'm like? Come on. The NFL, there's one game a week for 17 weeks. And then obviously if you go to the playoffs, this shouldn't be that hard.
It can totally be done.
So much technology too. There's so the way to drain these fields and heat these fields and do all the things you need to do to get I don't know. It's all excuses, man. I don't want to hear it. And if that's the case, then how come there are teams with grass that their fields are fine? Like it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like there's proof out there that it does work. So it's, they're too big and too strong. Like I appreciate the super chat, but that wouldn't, that would only play if every team was playing on turf. There are teams that do play on grass and their fields are fine. So
yeah.
We got Chacho stopping and saying, Jake, do you think the Rams defense will be better for this season? And do you think they're going to get another receiver like Diggs or someone else on the team? Well, gee, Jake, I would have to think that defense will be a little bit better this year.
Yeah, the defense will. Clearly, I think the big issue was when Ahkello Witherspoon goes down week 2, breaks his shoulder. He rushes back. He comes back around week 11. He's not the same player. And Kobe Durant, he had his moments, but the real big thing was when Quentin Lake went down with the injury in the Seahawks game, the first Seahawks game at SoFi. They missed him, and the defense suffered because of it, and the secondary really got exposed because of it. So now you go out and you get Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson, guys that they've played together. They have, incredible ability as run defenders, whereas something that I think Kobe got better over the course of time, but I mean, you're getting upgrades in every aspect over there based on, the corners that were starting at the end of last year. And then on top of that, you had Myles Garrett, who I'd make the argument, guys, Myles Garrett is being helped as much as he's going to help the Rams. I mean, I don't think you guys realize, I actually did some research on this and I couldn't even believe it. The Browns, you think like, oh yeah, they're such a great team and, like defensive wise, right? Like last year, like their defense was a really good defense. Their pressure was kind of surprising. So the Rams last year, and I'm just talking regular season games, the Rams had 333 pressures on the quarterback. Jared Verse had 80 of them. That was accounting for 24% of all pressures was Jared Verse. Now you factor in the Browns, they had 249. The difference between those is 84. That's the amount of pressures Garrett had. The difference is people would say he only had 4 more than Verse. Yeah, but he was never playing with a lead. They were always down. He was always getting double teamed and chipped while being double teamed. And on top of that, he had 33.7% of the pressures that the Browns had. The other guys were really not getting home. I mean, you look at Alex Wright and Isaiah McGuire. These are not, fantastic running mates on the other side, whereas Verse had Byron Young. You have Kobe Turner. You have Braden Fisk. And, of course, you have Poona Ford. I think Malik Collins and Mason Graham, I mean, those were the best guys he had, really. So I think we could be looking at his best season yet. And last year was just insane. But it's crazy the type of season that Myles Garrett could have, especially if, and I believe when, Aaron Donald returns.
Still can't believe he is an LA Ram. We got Jimmy stopping in. Brandon still coping about his daddy Rams. Speaking of those Rams. Love it. I didn't sense a lot of cope tonight, Brando, but apparently you're still serving it up.
You just laugh it off. Just laugh it off.
He had to mute himself because he's been coping so hard. Look at him.
Brandon, you couldn't be any more muted. You are so muted. There's never.
Oh, I said he just keeps dropping $5 bills into my hand or $2 bills just over and over on my chat, and while he continually tells me I need to cope, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what to. Okay.
It just keeps smacking you, handing you a $5 bill, smacking you.
It is. It's very much that. Here.
Oh, Brando, Dylan's back in to drop you off $2 to back you up here, at least, saying Byron Murphy's still better.
I still
Preach,
disagree
Dylan.
Respectfully.
Preach, Dylan.
And we got our man Dave rounding us out saying, my guys, how are you all? Oh, no, Niners suck again. Apparently, Jesse was good until you sent that super chat in, Dave, but I think the rest of us, we're doing good.
We suck again.
We suck again. I said Joe Montana.
That's what.
Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you as always for tuning in. An hour 15 in the books on a June Tuesday. Well over 400 of you in attendance in June, by the way. That is absolutely incredible. Once again, a big thank you for helping us surpass 10,000. Well over it now. Now it's off to the next milestone, and we couldn't do it without you. Once again, thanks so much as always. For tonight, that's going to do it. That's Jesse, Brando, Jake, Mike. I'm your host, Z-Bot. Thanks so much as always for tuning into the NFC West Roundtable. And we'll see you on the next.
Roundtable Sports Network is your one-stop shop for all things NFL, with daily live shows covering all 8 divisions in the league, hosted by the best content creators on the web, all on one network. Catch the AFC East live every Monday at 7 p.m. and on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. The AFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. The AFC North Roundtable live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. The AFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. The NFC East Roundtable live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. The NFC West Roundtable, live at 9 p.m. on Tuesday nights. The NFC North Roundtable is at 6 p.m. on Wednesdays, and the NFC South Roundtable is live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. EST. And of course, fourth and forever, the flagship show of Roundtable Sports Network covering all things NFL at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Roundtable Sports YouTube channel. Real coverage, real fans.